The first sign that something was wrong wasn't a phone call. It wasn't an argument. It wasn't even a text message. It was a photograph of my entire family, standing on a white sand beach in Florida, smiling beneath a banner that read, Family Vacation 2026. My son was there. My grandchildren were there. My daughter was there. Even my ex-husband's sister was there. Everyone except me. And I found out the same way complete strangers did, on Facebook. The picture appeared on my screen at 6:17 on a Thursday morning, 3 days before my 60th birthday. At first, I thought it had to be an old photo. Maybe someone was sharing memories. Maybe I was mistaken. But then I saw the date posted 1 hour ago. My stomach dropped so hard I felt physically sick. I stared at the screen, zooming in and out like the truth might somehow change. It didn't. My daughter-in-law, Melissa, had posted it. The caption said, "Finally enjoying the family vacation we've been planning for months. So grateful to spend quality time with the people who matter most." The people who matter most. I read that sentence 10 times, maybe more. Then I noticed something else, the vacation dates. The trip overlapped exactly with my 60th birthday. My hands started shaking. For years, my family had talked about doing something special for my 60th. Not because I demanded it, because they insisted. My son David had mentioned a surprise several times. My daughter Rachel kept asking whether I preferred a party or a trip. Even Melissa had smiled sweetly and told me not to make any plans. Now I knew why. They already had plans that didn't include me. I sat alone at my kitchen table while the coffee beside me grew cold. Outside, the spring rain tapped against the windows. Inside, something much heavier settled in my chest. Confusion, humiliation, heartbreak. I kept scrolling through the photos. There were dozens. Pictures at the airport, pictures in restaurants, pictures by the ocean, videos of my grandchildren running through the sand. Everyone laughing, everyone celebrating, everyone acting as if I didn't exist. What hurt the most wasn't being excluded. It was realizing how much effort had gone into hiding it. Months of planning, months of conversations, months of lies, and somehow every single person had kept the secret from me. Or maybe it wasn't a secret. Maybe they simply didn't care. I wish I could tell you I called them immediately. I didn't. Instead, I sat there frozen. Because once you discover your family doesn't value you the way you believe they did, you start questioning everything. Every memory, every sacrifice, every relationship. I thought about all the years I'd spent putting everyone else first. When David's father left us, David was only 9. Rachel was 6. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I skipped vacations, skipped new clothes. Skipped dinners out. Everything extra went toward my children. I wanted them to have opportunities I never had. And they did. David became a successful financial advisor. Rachel became a nurse. I couldn't have been prouder. When David married Melissa 8 years ago, I welcomed her into the family with open arms. At least I tried. Melissa was charming in public. Everyone loved her. She always knew exactly what to say, exactly how to smile, exactly how to make people feel special, at first. But over time, little things started happening, subtle things, things that were easy to dismiss. Birthday dinners I somehow wasn't informed about. Family gatherings scheduled when she knew I was working. Conversations that stopped when I entered the room. Whenever I brought it up, David defended her. "Mom, you're overthinking." "Mom, it wasn't intentional." "Mom, Melissa loves you." Eventually, I stopped mentioning it. Nobody wants to become the difficult mother-in-law. Nobody wants to seem jealous or needy. So I swallowed my feelings, again and again, until that morning. Until Facebook showed me what everyone had been trying so hard to hide. Around noon, my phone finally rang. It was Rachel. I answered immediately. There was a long pause. "Mom?" I could hear guilt in her voice. The kind that arrives too late. "How long were you planning to wait before telling me?" I asked. Another silence, then she sighed. "You saw Facebook." It wasn't a question. "No," I said quietly. "Facebook saw me." Rachel started crying instantly. That surprised me. Rachel wasn't a crier. "Mom, I'm sorry." "What exactly are you sorry for?" The question seemed simple, But she couldn't answer because where would she begin? Sorry for lying? Sorry for excluding me? Sorry for spending months pretending? Finally, she said, "It wasn't my idea." I laughed not because it was funny, because it was predictable. Nobody ever takes responsibility when betrayal becomes public. It was Melissa's idea, wasn't it? Rachel didn't answer, and that was answer enough. I closed my eyes. The pieces started fitting together. Melissa organizing family events, Melissa controlling schedules, Melissa deciding guest lists, Melissa slowly becoming the gatekeeper between me and my own family. "David agreed?" I asked. Rachel's silence grew even longer. That answer hurt more than anything, because Melissa wasn't my daughter. David was my son. The boy I'd raised, the boy I'd sacrificed everything for. The boy who apparently thought excluding his mother from her own birthday celebration was acceptable. "I need some time," I told Rachel, then I ended the call. Over the next 2 days, nobody contacted me, not David, not Melissa, not my grandchildren, nothing. The silence was louder than any argument. By Saturday morning, my actual birthday, I finally understood something. I had spent years chasing approval from people who only valued what I could give them, not who I was. What I could provide, babysitting, holiday hosting, financial help when emergencies happened, emotional support whenever they needed it. But the moment I expected basic respect in return, suddenly I became optional. That realization changed everything. Around 10 o'clock that morning, I received an email from my attorney, an email I'd been considering for months, maybe even years. At the time, it had nothing to do with revenge. It was simply estate planning. After my divorce, I'd invested carefully, bought rental properties, saved consistently, worked longer than most people expected. By 60, I'd accumulated more than anyone in my family realized, including a lakeside vacation property in Michigan worth nearly $800,000, a property my family adored, especially Melissa. Every summer, she practically lived there. She posted photos online as if she owned it herself. The attorney's email contained updated inheritance documents I hadn't finalized yet. I stared at them for a very long time, then something unexpected happened. For the first time since seeing those Facebook photos, I smiled. Not because I was happy, because I finally saw the truth clearly. My family had spent years assuming certain things, assuming my support would always be available, assuming my resources belonged to them, assuming I would tolerate anything. They were about to learn how wrong they were. And what happened next would expose secrets that nobody, including Melissa, saw coming, not even close. The following Monday, the family vacation ended. I knew exactly when everyone got home because Facebook told me. Egan, pictures of airport hugs, pictures of exhausted grandchildren, pictures of Melissa holding a giant souvenir shopping bag and grinning like she'd just won the lottery. Maybe she thought she had. What she didn't know was that while she had been relaxing on a beach, I had been making decisions. Permanent decisions. That afternoon, I received my first call from David. Not to apologize, not to explain, to ask for a favor. I wish I were kidding. "Hey, Mom," he said casually, as if nothing had happened. As if I hadn't spent my birthday alone while watching my family celebrate without me. "How was Florida?" I asked. The silence on the other end lasted several seconds. "Mom? No, really. How was it?" "It wasn't what you think." I laughed softly. "Then tell me what I should think." He stumbled over his words. The excuses arrived exactly as expected. There had been limited space. Melissa handled the planning. Everyone assumed someone else had told me. The trip wasn't meant to replace my birthday. Every explanation somehow managed to avoid the actual issue. Nobody invited me. Finally, I interrupted him. "What favor do you need?" Another pause, because we both knew he hadn't called to discuss my feelings. He sighed. "The twins have a school event Friday. Melissa and I have a conference. We were hoping you could watch them." There it was. The reason for the call, not guilt, convenience. I stared out my kitchen window. For years, I would have said yes immediately. For years, I had rearranged my entire life whenever they needed help. But something inside me had changed. No, the word shocked both of us. What? No. "Mom, it's only for one afternoon." "No." His voice hardened. "You're being unfair." That almost made me laugh. Unfair. The irony was breathtaking. "I'm being unfair?" I asked quietly. "You're punishing the kids." "No, David, I'm setting a boundary." He didn't know what to do with that. Most people don't when they're accustomed to unlimited access. The conversation ended badly, very badly. For the first time in his life, David hung up on me. And strangely enough, it felt liberating. The next few weeks revealed something fascinating. The moment I stopped making myself available, people started showing their true colors. Rachel visited more often. David called less. Melissa didn't call at all, not once. Not even to apologize. Instead, she acted as though I simply needed time to get over it. According to Rachel, that was the exact phrase Melissa used. Get over it, as if betrayal had an expiration date. One afternoon, Rachel came over for lunch. Halfway through the meal, she finally said something she'd apparently been keeping bottled up for years. "Mom, can I tell you something?" "Of course." She hesitated. "You weren't imagining things." I looked at her carefully. "What do you mean? The family gatherings, the birthdays, the holidays." She lowered her eyes. "Melissa excluded you on purpose." I wasn't surprised, but hearing someone confirm it felt different. More painful, more real, Rachel continued. "At first it was subtle. She'd tell people you were busy even when you weren't." My chest tightened. "Then she'd say you didn't want to come." "What?" Rachel nodded. "She told people you preferred being alone." I stared at her. For a moment I couldn't speak. Years of wondering why invitations seemed to disappear. Years of feeling disconnected. Years of questioning myself. And all along someone had been quietly rewriting the story. Rachel looked miserable. "I should have told you sooner." "Why didn't you?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Because David always took her side." That answer hurt. Because it sounded true. The next revelation arrived 2 weeks later, completely by accident. I was meeting with my attorney to finalize estate documents when he asked a simple question. "Do you still intend to leave the Michigan property equally to David and Rachel?" I hesitated. Then I said, "I'm not sure anymore." My attorney nodded thoughtfully. Then he opened a file. "There is something else you should probably know." "What?" He adjusted his glasses. "Several months ago, your daughter-in-law contacted our office." The room suddenly felt very still. "Melissa?" "Yes." My stomach tightened. "What did she want?" He looked uncomfortable. "She requested information regarding ownership transfer procedures for the vacation property." I blinked. "What?" "She claimed your family was discussing future management of the property." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Future management? She seemed under the impression that the property would eventually belong to her and David. A strange feeling washed over me. Not sadness, not anger, clarity, pure clarity. Melissa wasn't merely excluding me. She was planning around me, planning for a future where my assets belonged to her. A future where my presence was unnecessary, but my property remained useful. Suddenly, dozens of memories made sense. The comments she'd made about renovations, the suggestions about expanding the dock, the way she referred to the lake house as our place. At the time, I thought it was enthusiasm. Now I realized it was entitlement. That evening, I drove to Michigan, alone. The lake house sat exactly where it always had, nestled among towering trees beside calm blue water. It was my favorite place in the world. The place I'd purchased after 20 years of saving, the place where my children learned to swim, the place where I imagined future generations gathering together. As I walked through the rooms, memories surrounded me. Birthday parties, Christmas mornings, summer barbecues, family laughter. And suddenly I understood something heartbreaking. The house represented everything I had tried to build: love, security, family. But a house cannot create those things. It can only reveal whether they already exist. I spent the weekend there thinking, reflecting, healing. And by Sunday evening, I had a plan, not a cruel plan, not a vindictive one, a truthful one. If people wanted to know exactly how much they valued me, I would give them the opportunity to prove it. The chance came sooner than expected. 3 weeks later, Rachel called. Her voice sounded nervous. Mom, are you sitting down? Why? Melissa and David are hosting a huge family barbecue next month. I smiled faintly. That's nice. No, listen. Rachel lowered her voice. They're announcing something. What? They think they're getting the lake house. My grip tightened around the phone. What? They've been telling people that you've basically promised it to them. I closed my eyes. The audacity was astonishing. Apparently, Melissa had been discussing future renovations, future additions, future plans, plans for a property she didn't own, a property nobody had ever promised her. And according to Rachel, many relatives already believed it. The barbecue wasn't just a party. It was a victory celebration. Melissa intended to publicly position herself as the future owner, the future family matriarch, the woman who inherited everything. What she didn't know was that I had already changed the documents. Completely, and the announcement I planned to make that day would change every relationship in the family forever. Because there was one secret nobody knew, not David, not Rachel, not Melissa, not anyone. A secret I had protected for nearly 15 years. A secret connected to the lake house, a secret that would reveal exactly who deserved to be part of my future and who didn't.